How much omega-3 should you consume to achieve optimal health? To answer this question, it's worth finding out. 1. The right level of omega-3 for your body. 2. The effectiveness of omega-3 supplements, and 3. The risks of having too much omega-3. Before we cover these 3 points, would you like to get an ongoing collection of news, reports, resources and courses on various health and wellness issues linked or connected with omega-3? It's so easy to access. Just take a quick moment to subscribe, and click the bell icon so you'll never miss out again. Plus, watch this video to the very end to get access to a free PDF download on sugar addiction, the shocking findings of a processed poison. Okay, so let's now dive into 1. What is the right level of omega-3 for your body? There's no such thing as a one-size-fits-all scenario when it comes to your health and well-being, so determining an optimum level of omega-3 intake for your body can only be answered by saying, it depends. Even the health organizations such as the World Health Organization (WHO) and the European Food Safety Authority (EFSA) recommend a daily minimum level of 250 to 500 mg combined EPA Eicosapentaenoic Acid and DHA Docosahexaenoic Acid for healthy adults, which begs a further question: what is deemed to be a healthy adult? And if you're not at full health, then ask your doctor for the required level of dosage. Whilst this article focuses on omega-3, bear in mind that by cutting down on your omega-6 consumption, you can also help promote or reap further the benefits of omega-3. Generally, omega-3 fats are reported in a positive light, and are talked of as being of benefit to the heart, the body joints, your brain and your eyes. So is there a maximum limit of omega-3 to consume? Because the testing of omega-3 fatty acids continues to be undertaken, there's no benchmark or standard to fall back on. However, there is a range of 250 mg to 4,000 mg as a limit, depending on which authority you take notice of. Here's a brief explanation as to why. Your body's cells, there's over 35 trillion of them, depend on the omega-3 fatty acids of EPA and DHA for maintaining the health of those cells. And because the two main components of EPA and DHA are not created naturally by our bodies, they have to be consumed directly through food, such as fatty fish and/or by supplements. When the EPA and DHA are absorbed by the cell membranes, it makes those cell membranes more flexible and permeable. All well and good, however, here's the bit that makes sense. As our organs are made up of those cells, getting the right level of omega-3 fatty acids allows those organs to function better. It follows, therefore, that the optimal functioning of your organs lends itself to you being in better health. So, as omega-3s have an influence on almost every part of your body, they have a major role to play in the fight against various diseases, and a lot of the chronic conditions that people suffer from are as a consequence of not having a sufficient balance of omega-3s. And the main reason for the lack of omega-3s is because our diet has too many omega-6s. Omega-6s are another group of fatty acids, but the proliferation in the body is caused by eating too much processed, and highly processed, food. Hence, the omega-3 balance that is referred to, is an imbalance against the level of omega-6. And as each group of omegas are vying for the same enzyme to service each cell, one knocks out the other. Therefore, a severe deficiency of omega-3s leads to an unhealthy body. So what you want is for a sufficient number of cells containing omega-6s to be replaced by omega-3s, to bring the balance into equilibrium. One way to determine your omega-3 requirements is by 1. Taking a blood test. 2. Determining a recommended intake of omega-3 foods and omega-3 supplements, and 3. Taking a follow-up test about 4 months afterwards to check the improvement. Often referred to as the omega-3 index or omega-3 balance, this test will initially determine how deficient your omega-3 level is, and then check what your level is some 4 months later. 2. How effective are omega-3 supplements? A diet of foods rich in omega-3, such as fatty fish, walnuts and avocados, plus any supplements should help keep your omega-3 balance or index in check with your omega-6 intake. An alternative for vegans and vegetarians is omega-3 supplements from marine algae. Like most things in life, not all omega-3 supplements are the same, so you have to be aware of the contents of those supplements. Now, here's the one overlooked factor you need to bear in mind when buying supplements. A more important consideration than the level of omega-3 you should take is the oxidative stability of the supplement. Take fish oil, for example. Each omega-3 fatty acid molecule has a double bond of protection, and when the supplement is exposed to oxygen, such as fresh air, the double bond starts to break down, and creates a fishy smell that eventually becomes quite rancid. The twist in the tale is that, over time, the oxidized omega-3 fatty acids start to be detrimental to the health of the body's cells. That's why you need to take great care in the quality and freshness of the supplements that you buy. 3. The risks and side effects of too much omega-3. Whilst the big health organizations suggest a minimum level of intake, there is no agreed maximum level. However, two issues to look out for are: 1. High or excessive doses of omega-3s could have a blood-thinning effect, so anyone with a blood disorder should consult with their doctor to determine a safe consumption level, and 2. Cod liver oil, an omega-3 supplement, can have a high level of vitamin A, which itself could be harmful in large doses. The Food and Drug Administration (FDA) of the US suggests a daily combination of 2,000 mg of EPA and DHA from supplements is safe, whereas the European Food Safety Authority (EFSA) suggests that up to 5,000 mg per day is probably the upper limit. Summing up, then, the only way to ensure you're maintaining your body's health is to find out if your omega-6 and omega-3 reading is out of balance by taking 2 blood tests. The first one is before you change your diet, and the second one is about 4 months after the first test. Therefore, once you've taken the first test, start consuming oily fish, such as salmon and mackerel, and walnuts and avocados to get the omega-3s into your body, whilst at the same time cut back on the processed foods, like the pies and pizzas and other packaged and tinned food we eat. In other words, reduce the omega-6 intake, whilst also increasing your omega-3 intake at the same time. Remember, the omega-6 fats compete with the omega-3 fats for the enzymes needed to maintain the cell membranes and reduce the incidence of illnesses, disorders and diseases. So, you should now be able to see that each person's omega-6 and omega-3 imbalance is going to be different for almost everyone on the planet, and the only way to determine to what extent that imbalance is, and the omega-3 intake required to redress that imbalance, is via blood tests. So there you have it. Thank you for watching this video. Kindly note, the content of this video does not constitute medical advice in any shape or form, and has been created for passive informational purposes only. If you like the content in this video, and maintaining or improving your health is a priority in your life, please feel free to share this video with like-minded people. By subscribing to the Omega-3 Zone channel, please click the subscribe button at the bottom of this video, and then by clicking the bell icon, this will ensure that you get notified of future videos being uploaded. Until next time, bye for now.